Thank you, Joe. So welcome, everybody. We are here with a very, very special guest. I'm going to wait a few minutes before I introduce him. I'm thrilled that he's here, a very dear friend, but I won't get into that yet. So welcome to the Loft. I think most of you know, but I just like sharing this because it's really such a collaboration that is due to the director, DJ Condon. DJ, you can say hello. You can unmute. I think you can unmute.
Yep. I'm muted.
Hello.
Hi, everybody.
We just love DJ. He really initiated this collaboration, and it's a joint venture, which I'm very, very happy. And also, ISL has a very special place in my heart after being there for so many years, and I just love the staff and the school. So I love this collaboration, and I see some ISL people here, and really they're my family. So I have to give a shout out every time for this collaboration.
Hey, wait, I've got to jump in here, Nancy.
Tell me.
You just gave me all these kudos for this collaboration, but you're the one who started the Loft, and John had a big role in it in the beginning too. So I'm late to the party. I'm just continuing.
Oh, you're wonderful, DJ. And I have to admit, John and I am going to get into how John and I started the Loft. And I told John I'll only talk for 4 minutes. I'm already 2 minutes in. So John, I'll calm down. Okay, I'll start. So everybody, we actually have 4 objectives, and I've been doing this a lot with all the Lofts, just wondering which objective resonates with you as to why you're here today. And so far, we already have 26 people here, so we're just opening up the doors and just enjoying all the love we have in the room. The first one is the idea about having some resources, some that are available and providing a place where you can just connect, and also the idea of getting a best practice and have availability to those best practices. Again, we have connections. Next we want to provide unique insights. That's why we have John Mikton here today in terms of international education. And the last is the idea of elevating different voices. So you might say, Nancy, I want to be on the Loft. Well, let me know. Contact me. We're always looking for different perspectives and insights or projects that you're working on. So please contact me, because that's why we have the Loft, to really elevate those voices. So right now, out of those 4 objectives, which one resonates with you? Which one you say, you know what? I'm here because I want to connect. I'm here because of unique insight. And on the count of 3, could you please put that number in the chat? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Let's put that number in the chat. Which one of those objectives are why you're here today? Seems like 3, unique insight. Oh, we have 1, resources, another 4. Thank you, John. Another 1, 2. Oh, we're all over the place. That's wonderful. A 3 and a 1. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Before I hand it over to John, I do want to let you know that the Loft has a bit of an approach, and that approach first starts with the idea we want to start touching our hearts, and that means building community. So if you see somebody in this room that you say, you know what, I think they're wonderful, write to them and say, please, can I have your email address? I would love to connect. We are all about building community. The next idea is about those provocations and those understandings that John will be providing. And what is it that he's trying to instill? What are those concepts? What are those big ideas? And the last thing is, once John speaks or any guest speaks, we're hoping that you have an actionable, that once you leave here today, you might say, oh, I'm going to look at John's blog. I'm going to look at this resource, because the inspiration that you had here today. How are we going to connect within the next, I would say, 55 minutes? Think about these connections. We're on social media, so connect with us on ECIS. And also, as I mentioned, exchanging those email addresses. Engagement, we're already about 27, so we're going to be muted on the large group. But when you're in the big group, can you please put your camera on? We want to see your eyes, which are probably beautiful. So it's just a different feeling than talking to a black screen with your name on it. So please, when you're in the small groups, John's laughing. You know what I mean? You ever go into a breakout room, everyone doesn't have the video on? I feel like I'm talking to myself. Though I do enjoy talking to myself, that's not the time to do it. So we're going to go on. Don't forget about LinkedIn. And lastly, these are our guests coming up for the Loft. And I just want to mention 2. One is Dr. Helen Kelly. She is focusing on wellness and looking at avoiding burnout within your staff. Really a session not to miss. She's doing 3, and this is her 2nd of the series. And next, we have a very, very dear friend of mine, Michael Newman. As you can see, he's the elementary assistant principal. He also works with gender inclusivity, and he's just someone that really is a dynamic person who works with GEIJ and is someone who talks from the heart. So I definitely recommend sign up for those sessions. I'll be putting those links. So now I get to introduce our guest, and I had to make this slide just for him because John and I worked together for several years. Now, besides John being super popular, he was literally in Luxembourg in the country, and Delano, which is the biggest newspaper in the country, interviewed him. I've been in the country for 32 years. How many times was I interviewed? 0. John's in the country for 1 year. He's amazing. Also, John does the International Schools podcast. He was a real figure at ISL. Anything that had to do with community, he was there. So I just want to welcome John. He'll be talking about AI. Right now, he is working at the International School of Geneva. He also works for the PTC, and he also works for FARIA. He's just everywhere. But what's so great, he's here today. And also, I had to say that he and I started the loft together. So John, thank you, everyone. A virtual hello to John. This is virtual hello.
Hello, Nancy. It's so nice to be back in your living room. It's so awesome. Yeah, the furniture's a little different. The logo's a little different, but that's okay. We're all about change.
We just love being together. We love it, love it, love it. And so glad you could be here. And also in that previous picture, I just saw my friend here. Yes, Kieran, I put your picture up. I did not get GDPR permission, but it was on Facebook, so we're okay. All right, John, to you.
Thank you so much. And I'm just going to get to where I want. There we go. Well, good afternoon, everybody. And it's just such a pleasure and honor to be a guest. I'm usually in the background in the past trying to tweet a million miles a minute and keep Nancy under control. But I think Joe's doing a great job. Nancy, thank you so much. So nice to see so many familiar faces. I'm going to talk about adaptability quotient. And before I do, I think we should just reflect.
Playing jazz.
Playing jazz.
Smoothie.
Making smoothie.
Calendar.
No meetings today. Remember, dentist at 9:30.
Fire off.
Fire off.
Open door.
Door open.
And we're gonna do one more.
Oh yeah. Open door.
Wrong voice command.
Open door.
Wrong voice command.
Open. Open door.
Repeat that.
Open door.
I didn't understand that.
Hey! Open door!
Play on the floor.
Get on the floor! Open the door!
Wrong
Open the
voice
door!
command. Error.
Hey, there. With a rock? Open door. Open door.
So I want to share a lesson. There was this year 3 teacher, and the kids had just come back from break time, and she was starting to explain the new unit they were doing. And there's the whiteboard, and they're brainstorming ideas, and the kids are putting their hands up. And then this one child says, but why do we have to learn this, and kind of exasperated that he has to be on the carpet again. And one of his friends, she says the same thing. So the teacher says, you know what? I have a story for you. There is this mother and son, and they go fishing. And if the mother fishes for the son, then the son will only have a fish for a day. But if the mother teaches the son how to fish, then he will have fish for the rest of his life. And the kids kind of look at her, and then one kid raises their hand and says, yes, but if she puts it in the freezer, the kid will have it forever, and she doesn't need to teach him how to fish.
Obviously, if we're experiencing more change now in a year than we previously experienced in 1,000 years, we can propagate that trend into the future and see that a day will come when we will experience more change in an hour than we have experienced in the past 20, 30,000 years. A situation like that is unimaginable, so we call it a singularity, a place where the normal rules of modeling break down. Modern religions have anticipated the singularity by calling it the eschaton, or the end of time. Technological communities have anticipated the singularity by thinking in terms of artificial intelligences or something like that. In whatever form it takes, we seem to be on the cusp of a dramatic evolutionary leap into a deeper order of complexity than biology or biology plus culture has been able to provide. We're on the brink of something truly awesome and unknown.
So one of the things that I think we all feel are these existential threats that we're seeing, you know, the whole issue of climate change and kind of the domino effect where there's food shortages and then there are conflicts, and then also the existential threat that's kind of come into play of artificial intelligence. And The Economist really calls this age the age of predictable unpredictability. You can pretty much predict that we are going to have unpredictability on a regular basis. And I think, you know, the pandemic was our first foray into this predictable unpredictability, because as we navigated the pandemic, there were a lot of things we had no idea, we hadn't engaged with, we had no points of reference, we had no experience prior, and it was a collective experience. And then if you think of the impact of climate change, which often is seen on TV screens, but now more and more we're seeing it in our own context. And the geopolitics, where now you see, unfortunately, through the polarization and the geopolitics, much more evidence of conflicts right at our doorstep, as if we refer to the situation here in Europe. All this is kind of coupled with this idea of frictionless connectivity. We all are connected to devices. It's frictionless, it's seamless. We don't actually often even realize that we're on the devices, or maybe even stop and reflect how much of our life is connected. And then with that, there's all the surveillance capitalism that you see. So what I would like to do is for you to go into a little room called a breakout room, something that Nancy and I always enjoy doing together. What has changed the most for you in the last 12 months in your context has required you to adapt and be agile in a very short time span? Think of something that changed and you had to adapt and be agile in a short time span. We're not talking a year or 6 months. It's literally maybe in a day, maybe in a couple hours. Share with your partners in your room, what is that change and how has that impacted you? So we're going to spend about 6 minutes in the breakout room. Nancy?
We're going to give a person a minute to reflect as I get the rooms opened. And we lost Joe, just so you know.
Oh, okay. Can I help?
Yeah, maybe.
Here, let me go. I'll make the breakout rooms.
Sorry, guys. This is known as an IT problem. We lost Joe, and she was our host.
Okay. We are going to have 5 minutes. It's really a quick round robin share, and then we'll be back to continue. Yeah? Have a good conversation.
Thank you, John. Thank God you're here.
You're welcome.
I lost Joe connectivity when it was just the three of us. So I was only able to make a breakout room for one person.
And Valerie is twice in here. Hey,
So,
Valerie.
hi,
Hey,
Valerie.
Listen, I'm going to put you in a breakout room, but you're 2 times in the Zoom, just FYI.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I really apologize for not putting on my camera. I have to pick up my kids, but I really didn't want to miss this today.
No worries.
Okay, no worries. I'm going to put you in a breakout room. There you go, Joe. Okay, Valerie, enjoy. Okay.
Room Room 3 has 2 people.
Oh, okay, let me,
Okay.
I'll just put them.
But
I
no,
don't know what
Ipti's coming in. I'll move Ipti to room 3.
Okay, perfect.
Sorry, now I'm fine. Oh, Joe's back. We're good. Okay, let me start tweeting away.
So sorry, Nancy, it kicked me out. I'm back now.
Okay,
Hey,
and I
Joe.
just signed into the account. So I'm wondering, I just signed into the account.
Okay.
You have somebody coming in. Nance, do you want
Yeah,
to?
I got it.
put them-
I got it, John. You relax.
Okay.
I'm gonna put in room 6 that has 4. Oh, they're already in. Somebody just already put them in.
I've
Sure.
not.
We lost. Where'd she go?
I'm here. I'm here.
No, not
No,
you,
there was
hon,
another participant. Anyway, no worries.
because now room 5 only has 2. And we lost.
It's fine.
It's fine. They can talk.
It's about being adaptable, right?
Nancy, I've now made you host.
Got it. Okay.
So just in case, John, I'm having my whole kitchen ripped out, and the builders,
Oh,
they're here, and they keep turning things off, and I'm getting very cross with them.
I bet you are.
I'm starting
Well, they
out of
better
the.
cook you a damn good meal.
Okay, let me just see what I'm like. Okay, I'm host, good. And okay, that was kind of nerve-wracking.
Now you have all rooms with 3 minimum, which is, oh no, except room 5.
Yeah, that's the one that I saw only had
So what we'll do is we'll redo the rooms maybe, or
Yep.
I'll let
Yep.
you move somebody. I'll move somebody. Yeah.
for the next breakout, it'll be another random
Okay, cool.
for 6 minutes and 30-second countdown.
How long have we been? Maybe 3-4 minutes?
They have
You got somebody coming in here. I'm gonna dump her in,
John, when you put into breakout rooms, did you set the time?
no,
Oh, that's why. So I would say, let me tell them they have what, 2 more minutes? How much more time do you want?
1 more minute. Oh, I just need to check. When was this done? Knowledge works. What is it?
Nancy, one thing we'll just have to make sure is that the recording wasn't paused.
Okay.
Breakout rooms to we'll just make sure that we tell James.
Yeah. Yeah, even when I tell James, he sometimes I love James. One time I put in the video and he's listening to this, so he knows. I said, James, don't put this in the recording. And all of a sudden it was in the recording. I was like, honey, I love you. We can't have that in the recording. It was so funny. I miss him this week. I need him.
I know. Enjoying his
Okay,
sunny
let's
holiday.
close the rooms, Nance.
All right, I'll say 10 seconds.
Yeah. This has been a non-stop Zoom day today.
That's it?
I had 2 podcast recordings and then I had to do a workshop for a school.
Oh, geez. That's me for Monday. I have 4 hours on Monday.
Hey, it's nice to be in the loft, girl.
I love it.
Okay, let's get serious.
Okay, they're closing all the rooms. Rooms are closing.
Welcome back. Nice to have everybody back. Nance, I'm just going to, you have an idea of we have what, 20?
They're
people?
coming back. I would say they should be back in 3 seconds, 2, 1, and the rooms are closing, John.
Awesome.
There you go. Everyone's
Nice
back.
to have everybody back. Just going to wait a couple seconds and we're good to go. So one thing about schools is schools are somewhat good at cushioning themselves from predictable unpredictability. And there's a reason, because we are kind of in a walled garden. If you think of a garden, there are walls and there's the outside world, and inside it's a more curated, nurtured, managed environment. And the reason we do that is because we're dealing with children, and the children require a lot of care. You have to think of scope and sequence. You really have to think of scaffolding, the different experiences. And that walled garden kind of, in some ways, protects us in some ways, sometimes, to have to engage with what's going on the outside. I think schools generally do a really good job of bridging and making those connections as best as we can. But of course, we're also understanding the intricacies of working with children, and we're really understanding the responsibility and kind of the ethics and everything that comes tied to that. So the walled garden actually has a purpose. One thing that Eric Teller and Thomas Friedman have been doing a lot of research is on the acceleration of technology and change. And in their book, Thank You for Being Late, they talk about how human adaptability and technology change have this gap. And you can see this gap, and that gap is actually because we are trying to adapt to new things while the new things are moving at a much faster rate. And that gap sometimes is what we call a creative tension, but that also can be that sense of kind of discomfort and that sense of like, oh, something, it just doesn't feel right, or you feel like you're always in catch-up mode. And I think that gap is really important to understand when we're engaging with change, and understanding that everybody comes to the table with different capacities, different approaches, different dispositions on how they're going to engage with change. About 4 years ago, KnowledgeWorks, which is a nonprofit organization that does these forecastings, what they do is they forecast the social impact of change on schools and create these very elaborate interactive publications that kind of break down what are the big drivers. And the last one that they did was in 2018, and they talked about these 5 drivers. And ironically, today, they almost mean more than maybe they meant in 2018. The first one is automated choices. It's the idea of algorithms and artificial intelligence becoming embedded in what we do. And today we know it's more than embedded, it's an integral part of our life. The idea of civic superpowers, accelerating brains, toxic narratives, and remaking geographies. So the first one is really how algorithms have come into our lives. And with the advent of ChatGPT, which, happened last year, but actually algorithms have been part of our life for quite a while. But now you have these huge language models, not only Western-centric, but Chinese ones and Indian ones, and they're kind of populating a lot of the landscape. And many of the tasks that we're doing today are very likely having ChatGPT APIs in the background to process and support and give you information, or even help you in some of your workflows. What's interesting is in the education space, we're starting to see a huge profusion of AI. So for example, we have Candmigo, which actually doesn't do schoolwork for students, but instead acts as a tutor and guide. So if they're doing a Khan Academy activity and they're not doing well, it will jump in and guide them by breaking down the tasks and basically analyzing their response and then curating that within nanoseconds and really personalizing it. So children, when they're struggling, actually have a coach right there that's going to break it down and allow them. My AI in Snapchat is kind of like a counselor. So kids, when they're interacting with their friends in social situations, they can refer to my AI and it will talk to them and give them advice on maybe how to navigate that dialogue or maybe some dynamics in the relationship. Google has released practice sets in Google Classroom, which basically are interactive lessons in real-time feedback for kids when they're in Google Classroom and doing activities, breaking down the concepts and giving them questions and lessons in smaller blocks to help them maybe understand concepts that they don't understand. We have Duet and AI, which is also Google Workspace. So that's basically in Gmail and Docs, it generates images from text and slides, and it can really transform ideas and data in your sheets in an automated way. Then, of course, the next best thing is somebody doing your lesson plans for you. So now you have EduAid AI and Magic School, 2 huge companies that have now released their AI, and basically they allow teachers to write assessments, create teaching activities, and all kinds of different opportunities for educators to interact with AI. So it's really embedded. It's now in our classrooms. It's available. The other ones are Cogni, which is a personalized education assistant. You pay a subscription, and throughout your day, you have this personal assistant that basically monitors what you're doing, looks at the different ecosystems that you're working with, and then responses and gives you different open responses, improves your critical thinking, and real-time feedback customized to your needs. And then we have GradeScope, which basically allows you to grade all your assessments, whether you're in an online class or an in-line class. So this is kind of the evidence and the change that we're experiencing and witnessing in different contexts at different levels. Civic superpowers is really where you are seeing small organizations and groups, advocacy groups, activism groups, that now have leveraged social media to really flex their ideas, their causes, and really get a lot of traction. So for example, in Iran, you have Masha Amini, and in Hong Kong, we have the Umbrella Revolution. And of course, you have the dichotomy where you have Black Lives Matters, but at the same time, civic superpowers like Proud Boys that are another voice. So you have the polarization on social media and the amplification of these different voices. The accelerated brains is really where we as educators are being able to take advantage of brain studies and brain research, and we're better understanding the cognitive abilities that children have and how best to serve them. But at the same time, we're looking at prosthetics and medical. This year, for the first time, prosthetic arms, before when you had a prosthetic hand, you couldn't move the fingers, so you weren't really able to play the piano. As of this year, you now can use each finger individually, and that's due to some of the new AI available. And of course, with medicine, we're seeing immense progress, especially in the area of breast cancer and a lot of cancers where diagnosis is much more preemptive, which allows then less intrusive surgery for the patients. Toxic narratives, I think we're all very familiar with it. It's the idea that different organizations, different groups have different metrics of success and what their aspirations and behaviors are. We have examples in the political sphere here in Europe and globally, where social media algorithms polarize the discussion, and you have this kind of intransigence and this really difficulty of finding a consensus. What is far more complex and far more concerning is the idea of the lack of diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice in AI. We know that AI is racist, it's bigoted, and there is more and more evidence that the data sets that most AI go to actually have very racist intentions. And Joyce Bugliani has been doing an immense amount of work with MIT looking at how we can create guardrails in AI to kind of mitigate some of that racism and lack of equity and inclusion. The other side is the deep fakes, where basically you can now take a picture of me, and for a few dollars, you can go onto a software and you can have me doing something completely inappropriate and claim it's me, and then push that out on social media. So the issue of digital literacy becomes even more important. Remaking geographies is the idea that with migration and immigration, we're seeing a real shift that partly tied to climate change. And of course, during COVID, we saw it really amplification of small production at a local level, especially with 3D printing. There is no doubt that climate change is the thing that now is really the biggest existential threat to us. And how do we adapt, and how do we take that on as educators and present it in a way that we can really scaffold opportunities for problem solving and solutions? So what I'd like you to do for 5 minutes now is, which of the 5 drivers of change has impacted you the most in your professional context today, and why? So think of the 5 drivers of change. I'll put them back up there. Just bear with me. So you have automatic choices, the idea of artificial intelligence and its role. Civic superpowers is advocacy and engagement and social media, accelerating brains, the idea of cybernetics, so prosthetics and medicine. And if you think what happened with the COVID vaccine, a lot of that was accelerated because of the capacity of AI. Toxic narratives, that idea of polarization of opinions and perspectives, and the idea of remaking geographies. If we think what geography was 100 years ago, how that is changing by migration patterns, and also how things are being reshaped, the way economic transition is occurring. So you're going to have 5-6 minutes in your groups, and the idea is, what of the 5 drivers of change do you feel is impacting you in your role at school, or as a school leader, or in your personal life? What resonates? What could you say, yes, I'm being impacted by that, and maybe explain why?
Okay, I'll open the rooms. Everyone think about, have those references ready. And I'm just going to make sure all the rooms are pretty even as well. And the rooms will now open.
Thank you, Nancy. Have a good conversation.
I think they're all good. 3, 3. One has 2, 3. Okay, all the rooms are even. Well done. You're like on fire.
You know what? It's so interesting because I do these 3 times 1 hour workshops. Actually, Anna, who's
Hi, James. I'll talk to you. You're missed this week. I have to tell people that we only have 3 minutes left. Okay. So one room has 4. Another room has 2. I don't know how that happens. There was 3. It's already 7:35. Talking to myself? Yes, I am. That's kind of funny. I'm talking to myself. I'm going to take a picture of myself, talking to myself. Hi.
it's resonating. Good.
But my lovely friend Ibti keeps on losing her internet. So she's in roommate, she's out of roommate.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay.
Right, we're
Okay.
actually going to make it. Oh, you should see this Cogni thing. It's amazing. So basically, you turn it on and it stays with you all day.
Isn't that weird though? What does it do?
It's a personal education assistant, personalized education for you. Why would you need to go to school? It does everything for you.
That's a good thing to state. Why do we need to go to school?
Yeah.
I know. I use the chat. Oh, we're recording right now, just so you know. I use the chat GPT for almost every day.
Yeah. Did you buy the 4?
No.
Oh, Nancy, spend the $20. It will change your life. Oh my God.
What is the 4? Wait, I don't understand. So you go to the regular chat one, right?
And then you click on Chat GPT 4 and you pay $20 a month.
And it's worth it. Yes?
It's so much more powerful.
Okay, where do you go to Chat GPT 4? I see it right here. Okay,
Yeah.
Upgrade. And it really is better?
Oh my God. It's just like, it's night and day.
Okay, then I'm going to do it.
It's faster and it also responds. So when it does something, it says, how can I improve this? Is this okay? Did you mean something else? And now on your phone, you can talk to Chat GPT 4 and you can say, please answer in Winston Churchill's voice. It depends on the iPhone you have. I don't have the right iPhone. You need the 17 and my phone is too old. Oh,
they're coming back in 30 seconds.
Okay.
Okay, so it's $20. Oh, and it's dollars.
Yeah, it's dollars.
Oh God, that's even funnier. Okay, I'm gonna do it. I saw that, but I never know if it's a ripoff. There's so many things I've joined. Okay, this is also recorded, sorry, that I joined that is a total, like I was using that Google, there was an AI for the PowerPoints. Horrible,
Yeah.
horrible, horrible, horrible. I might as well do it myself. Absolutely the worst. And you get coinage. I mean, it was just terrible.
Shopping
And then
online is tough in the internet age, you know. There's a lot of little things
And
that get
did you ever see the one that can create pictures? I need 3 people from 3 diverse ethnic groups, blah, 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 blah. They look like they're cartoon characters, like they're so bad. And I said, I'm not paying for this. It was so bad. Because sometimes looking for pictures is like,
yeah,
hard.
especially you want pictures that are not copyrighted, right? Anyway,
exactly.
it looks like
Is everyone-
everybody's back, and I got to go into some rooms, and it seems some things resonated. And what's amazing, this thing was written, you know, in 2018, and I just think it's so appropriate and so much resonates. If you've not had a chance to spend time with Knowledge Works, go and see their stuff. It's phenomenal. They're actually doing some really interesting work with the Pittsburgh school board and the city high schools. They actually have a group of kids that are helping the school develop their strategic plan, and they do a podcast where you can hear kids talking about strategic plan in schools. It's fantastic. So, and these are public schools, so a lot of social economic challenges that these kids come from, and just the vibrancy and the opinions they have is really rich. I like this quote because we always talk about intelligence and all that. And I think really adaptability is the one that we are starting to realize is really the disposition and behavior that we need. So if you think of the different intelligences, we have the intelligent quotient, the emotional intelligence, digital intelligence, and this adaptability quotient. What's very interesting, if you research intelligence and emotional intelligence and quotient, those two mostly, it's much harder to teach somebody to do well in an IQ test, and it's much harder to teach somebody to be emotionally intelligent. It's most of this is innate from your culture or your genetics. And so really the adaptability quotient is really interesting because it's one that you can actually teach. You can train people to be more adaptable, which is interesting. And Robert J. Steinberg is a psychologist at Cornell University, and he's done the most work on this field of adaptability quotient in the education world. Adaptability quotient is very popular in the business world. If you go and do searches, you'll see all kinds of companies talking about it, Agile, but really in the education sphere, it's not something that really has been adopted or embraced. And he's done some fantastic writing and research on what intelligence is and what adaptive intelligence is. And he really talks about, it's about adapting to current problems and anticipated future problems in real world environments. And it's the ability to pivot. And it's this pivoting that we're going to talk about. So one of the things that we know about adapting to change, there's a cognitive aspect. So you have to kind of think about it. There's an emotional aspect because we know with change, people have emotions. And often with change, you're either happy or they're angry or they feel threatened or they feel insecure. And then there's behaviors. How do we behave when change is forced upon us or we engage with change maybe that we don't like? We tend to have a hissy fit, or we say something, or we post something. So those three are really important when you think of change, that kind of cognitive engagement, the emotional engagement, and the behavioral engagement. So adaptability quotient is actually where you work in determining what's relevant, kind of focusing on what's relevant with the situation that you're adapting to. And forget the obsolete knowledge. And that we're going to talk a little more about that. And then overcome the challenges and adjust to change in real time. It's the idea that you change in real time. So if change is coming to you now you change. You don't wait for a month to change. And that's kind of the idea of a lot of the thinking. It's also being able to challenge habit, what's always been done. it's quite common that we tend to focus on past experience to guide us on engaging with change. And I think what a lot of research is saying, and Steinberg says, is that we have to challenge our habits. The way we used to always do it can't always be our point of reference. And it's able to learn from others. It's this idea of being open to perspectives. And I think with toxic narratives, sometimes that can be really challenging, but it's really saying to ourselves, I'm going to listen to the perspectives and I'm going to engage with empathy, and I'm going to listen, and I'm going to hear to listen, where you listen and are present in the moment and not trying to jump ahead and thinking, oh yeah, I know what they're going to talk about, I'm going to fill in the blanks. It's kind of this idea of embracing the pause. So it's be responsive, be collaborative, be a problem solver, solution-centric, and always willing to learn. So we have a lot of examples in the corporate world of how people that have not adjusted to change, really what happens is they become obsolete. And we have examples of current companies and past companies. And it's really the idea to be able to engage with unanticipated change directly. So what can you do? And many of us are leaders, we're educators. It's the first thing is to really display the AQ traits you wish that other people are engaging with. You do it yourself. So you model it in the way you react, you respond, you engage, and are comfortable not depending on what you've always done and coming to the conversation, forgetting that obsolete knowledge. It's about mentoring and supporting teams and being able to upgrade those abilities. It's really important to view mistakes as valuable learning experiences for you and others. We need to make sure that we just don't say, oh, it's not okay for me, but it's okay for them. It's giving the space and time. This takes time. It takes space. Everybody learns differently. Everybody has a different capacity to take on new things. And what are we doing to allocate that personal growth for curiosity and change? And it's also being able to understand that we need to encourage cognitive diversity. In other words, learners are different. Adults are like kids. We have neurodiverse educators. What are we doing to scaffold that neurodiversity? One of the challenges is this professional development gaps. It's addressing this idea that there's limited opportunities and experiences to teach alternative methodologies. How do we really do that and give the time? It's also the change to resistance. So often when we are trying to change pedagogy, we're often potentially looking at well-established teaching practices, and sometimes we're saying it, not that we mean it, that that's redundant and now this is the better way. I'm being very coarse here, but often that's how it translates to people that are understanding that. It's being able to strike a balance between integrating the new teaching approaches and managing the existing workload. It's all very fine saying you need to teach a new way or you need to engage with change in a new way, but you have current existing workloads and current existing commitments. How do you juggle that and find the time to do both? And it's really understanding the emotion and the time invested needed to adapting to new methods, and also appreciating that people don't want to lose their current expertise. They are often measured by their current expertise. Part of the problem with adaptability intelligence and rethinking the way we teach is our assessment metrics, our measure. This summer, I went to 42 different, I did an exercise. I was like, I'm going to 42 international school websites, July 25th. What did I see on every single page? IB results, IGCSE results. That was the measure of success. Globally, these schools were telling people, we measure success, we measure the success of our teachers by the grades of our kids and them getting to good universities. Well, it's very hard then suddenly to tell a teacher, well, guess what? This is not the way to do it, and you need to do it this way, when we're sending the message that that's our measure of success. How can we examine how recognition through grades and alternative contributions might conflict and understanding how that affects the priorities of teachers and their engagement with that change. And then more importantly, most of our parents, their point of reference is their education, which most of them was a test-driven education. They're very successful. Many of the parents in international schools are middle manager, upper manager. They've traveled, they have good experiences, they're well respected, but their point of reference is an education system where they had exams and they went to good universities and got their MBAs. So how do we build confidence amongst parents and teachers who may be resistant to these new educational approaches due to their own past experiences? So you're going to go into the room. I gave you a battery of ideas. What do you find challenging as an educator with the idea of adaptability intelligence in your current role? So think about how the key is forgetting obsolete knowledge, giving up old habits, coming in with clean mental models, being willing to take perspectives that maybe you don't agree with, and also reevaluating your metrics on how you measure success and how you measure the validity of your teachers away from exams. So in your groups, what do you find challenging as an educator with the idea of adaptability intelligence in your current role?
Okay, I'll open the rooms up, everybody.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Sorry. They're coming, everybody. Just making sure the rooms are even. There you go, everyone.
Thank you, Nancy. I know I'm going fast, but am I going too fast?
No, you're good. Yep. They come back in 5 minutes.
Perfect.
And then you have 5 minutes left.
Oh, okay. So I need to delete some slides.
You only had about
I need to dash now, but thank you so much, John. I've learned so much. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Joe.
Quickly pick George up from nursery. So see.
Go ahead, honey. Thank you for your help.
Lovely seeing you, Joe.
You too. See you soon. Bye bye.
Nancy, what we'll do instead of a breakout room, we're going to do the waterfall at the end.
Got it. Okay. Okay. You know you're going to have to come back. You know that. Because I know you're just a rock star.
What's that?
You're going to have to come back. People are
Yeah,
loving
I'm happy to come back.
Oh,
I
thank you.
can't screen share. Something happened.
What do you mean you can't screen share?
It says screen share is failing.
You can't screen share. You can screen share. I thought they can only screen share when you're in. You should be. There you go.
Okay, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll get another date from you in March or February.
But what are we going to do? We need to talk. Let's make. I don't know. I don't always want to be about me. Oh, Nancy, I didn't post the thing in my Facebook group because I saw it 5 minutes before I came online.
No worries. No worries.
So I'm going to reject it, but it's not that I don't love you dearly.
All right. This is what I thought of having a IA. So I need something for middle leaders with IA. So, or what you're doing. I don't like saying IA because you're more of a mindset and a disposition rather than just AI. So I like that focus. And it's focused for middle leaders. So I was thinking of getting different people involved, more of a panel where we have different questions, people tell me which questions they would want and do it more that way. What do you think?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. There's some good people out there.
All right, you need to recommend some for me because I want to use some people. I want you
Kenneth
no matter
in, so you can drool over him. Kenneth Shelton.
Oh yes.
Did you ever reach out to him?
No, I felt weird. I just like, oh, he's gonna think I'm kind of creepy.
No. He's wonderful. He'll love you. You guys will get on like a house on fire.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. You and Kenneth would be perfect. Just you two.
Are we being recorded? Oh, we are. Oops.
Okay. That's okay. Okay.
We have to kind of censor our we have to censor our conversation every so often. We should be recording.
And John, the time is, just so you know, the time is 56 already.
Okay, I'm going. A classroom context. So this is really nice, the adaptability quotient, and it's all very nice, but we're teachers and we're educators. What happens in the classroom? So I've had the pleasure in the last couple years of interacting with these 4 wonderful educators. And one name is highlighted as John Miller, because he is fascinating what he's doing with LA Unified. LA Unified is the 2nd largest school district in the United States, and he's actually working with their high school teachers using adaptability quotient in their curriculum. And if you get a chance, look at the Agile classroom. Hannah and Jessica do some really interesting ideas, and they've created their own organizations. And then Heather is out in Asia, and she's been implementing it in a primary context. So what does that look like? So the Agile classroom is based on the idea of adaptability quotient. It's really kind of breaking everything up into very short learning phases. Everything is a joint project between the teacher and the student. They're self-guided learning spaces. It's always ongoing progress and consistent feedback. And then the personal performance is evaluation on personal goal setting. Of course, you have to scaffold that, as you go from younger to older. And the way the idea is that you really articulate for the short sprints what the priority learning goal is. You decide on the specific learning outcomes you aim to achieve by the end and outline that step by step. You have regular check-ins, so you hold brief, frequent conversations to reassess. The sprint review is always validating the learning outcome in case you have to change it. And then also being comfortable with the child going back and looking at what maybe are the actionable commitments you have to improve on for the next phase. So it's short, focused period of time. It's that the student breaks down an understanding of the complexity of the learning objectives. These are never longer than 1 to 3 weeks. And so you have a climate, you create clarity, you establish the cadence, you develop the connections, you expand the choice, and the learning alliance, which we're going to talk about in a few room. And so most of these things, if you're in an inquiry room, an inquiry approach, be it PYP or whatever, many of these things you're doing. But the change is that these sprints are much shorter, and you're really letting kids set the goals. You let the kids prioritize, and you let the kids learn from their past experiences. So you really scaffold the structure in a way that the kid has that much more agency. And the idea of a learning alliance, for every sprint, you might have a different group. The kids decide what behaviors they will have. So we will stay on task, help each other. And then they talk about what happens if they have conflict. And then what is the feedback and accountability? And they develop those themselves with the guidance of the teachers. And then you put in the middle the values that they're going to work, and then they sign it. And then they might do another sprint and do another learning alliance. So for each sprint, they create this learning alliance together. And it's quite amazing when you see kids that are engaged with this and have practiced this. It's pretty impressive. And I definitely encourage you to go and see some of the work that John Miller is doing. Greta Sandler has been doing this also. She has been doing this, and she does it a lot with visuals. So she puts in her classroom these big posters with Post-its, and then they move their Post-its around, and they're constantly interacting. It's the kid that's driving it. Of course, for everything that I'm saying, this has to be scaffolded. This has to be developed. I'm not saying this is not a curriculum. This is not about a curriculum or what knowledge you're teaching. It's about dispositions and approaches that you create for whatever curriculum you're going to engage with. So kids have this structure, and they have that agency, and they have that self-responsibility to really engage with this idea. And this really is kind of the essence of adaptability quotient in a school community. There is no doubt we have so much going on, and another new idea. That's hard. That's really hard. And it's really hard when you have so many things going on you're trying to accomplish, and you have strategic plans, you've got your plans, you've got this going on, you have a parent that's not happy. There are just so many variables that come to the plate and make it really challenging. But there is no doubt that the world that we live in, the existential threats we have are becoming more and more real. And the way we do things, generally, my feeling and what a lot of research is saying, they don't work anymore. And we need to be able to make sure we're not teaching to our past and that we understand the future that the kids are engaging with. So, as with the fish and the lesson, I would like you to think about your freezer and that fish that the kid put in to make sure it's there for the next 50 years. Doesn't matter if you know how to fish or not, you got the fish in the freezer. But what I invite us tonight to do is become a student of change, because it's the only thing that will remain constant. So here are some books if you would like to explore further. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a thing called the waterfall. So you're going to go into the chat and you're just going to write a word or a sentence about what maybe is a takeaway you have from today. What little thing might you do differently tomorrow or the next day? It could be that you're going to start listening to people with empathy and make sure you embrace pause. It might be that next time you say, oh, we should do it like we did last year, you're going to say, no, we're going to do it like we've never done it before. What are those things? So think about something and you're going to type it into the chat. And then when Nancy counts on 3, we are going to see the waterfall of ideas come down. And then I'm happy to stay on afterwards if people have questions, or you can reach me at the International School of Geneva and these different places. So let's do the waterfall. So just type that in and don't hit the return button.
Are we ready, everybody? Give me a thumbs up when you're ready. Okay, I see Samuel. Thank you, Samuel. Okay, we know it's past your time. I want to be respectful. So we're just going to say 1, 2, 3. Press return, everybody. Let's see those ideas. You know, John, one thing I have to just compliment you on. We talked about, usually when you hear about a workshop about AI, it's just all about these resources. But you spoke so much about disposition and mindset, which I think the two have to go hand in hand, rather than just trying to just use these tools, but there's an understanding behind them. So that you inspire, I think, everyone here because of how you approach AI.
I think talking about AI is the wrong thing because it's just a tool.
Exactly.
I mean, we looked at social media and ignored it, and now we're wondering why we have this toxic narratives. And now we have AI. It's about change. It's about, the problem that I have, we're not talking about the racism, the ethics, the inequity, and the problems of guardrails. And do you guys know that AI hallucinates? There's a term called hallucinations. If you type into ChatGPT-4 and it doesn't know the answer, it will create an answer and resources for you.
Incredible.
So what happens when we have a 12-year-old type something in, or a teacher type something in and they just copy and paste it and put it on their slide? So I think we need to be much more mindful about this whole narrative and understand there is a huge ethical responsibility that unfortunately we didn't do a very good job with social media. I think we have a chance now to do it differently. So thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Before we go, I know it's past the time. We have a tradition in the loft. John knows this quite well because we do want this takeaway. Takeaway is not just the learning, but also a physical takeaway. Like, let's do a high five. So we hands up on the screen, everybody. I know this is totally cheesy, but I just love it. On the count of 3, we're going to do a high five. 1, 2, 3, high five. 1, 2, 3, high five.
5.
And I've already convinced John, and we're going to get a panel together in February about working with AI and more or less about dispositions and looking at just, you said adaptability to change, behavior, emotional, and you just summed it up really well. So thank you, John. You are tremendous.
I'm happy to stay on if people have questions for a few minutes. I don't know if I'm breaking loft protocol here.
Never, but I'm going to stop the recording. So thank you, everybody.
Yes, because we want to censor what we're going to say.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Don't want it published on social media. I'm going to stop right now.
Exactly. We don't want that trending tomorrow on LinkedIn.
That would be bad, very bad. So make sure you cut this out.